I noticed it the moment she walked through the door, a little too late for dinner, a little too flustered, and carrying that faint, unfamiliar scent. Perfume that wasn't hers, sharp and sweet, clinging to the air around her like a warning. She smiled, though it didn't reach her eyes, and said, "Sorry, I lost track of time with a work call." But there was something in her voice, a tension, a hesitation that immediately made my chest tighten. I knew then that this wasn't just another late night. It was something else, something carefully orchestrated. Over the past few weeks, subtle cracks had begun to form in the foundation of our marriage. Calls she took in the other room, messages that she quickly minimized when I walked past, the sudden privacy around her phone that hadn't been necessary before. I tried to convince myself I was imagining things. Maybe I was being paranoid, I told myself. She had always been trustworthy, loving, careful with her words. And yet, instinct kept whispering that I was seeing only the surface of a deeper story. The first time I doubted myself was when I noticed a hotel receipt sitting on the kitchen counter, partially hidden under a stack of mail. My heart skipped a beat. It wasn't mine. It had her name printed across it, dated for a weekend she claimed to be working late at the office. I picked it up, traced the letters with a trembling finger, and felt that cold, creeping dread settle over me. I didn't want to believe it. I wanted to trust her. But trust requires evidence, and there it was, in black and white. I began paying closer attention, silently observing. Small things added up. The whispered phone conversation she hushed when I entered the room, the sudden, inexplicable smiles at her screen, her abrupt changes in schedule. My mind cycled through memories of our shared life, searching for signs I had missed. Did our Sunday brunches carry false laughter beneath the surface? Did our quiet evenings, once comforting, now conceal secret plans? Each memory I revisited left a bitter taste, a gnawing question mark that wouldn't go away. Then came the weekend she had meticulously planned. She tried to act casual, suggesting she needed a break from stress, a little getaway to relax and recharge. I nodded, outwardly supportive, my stomach twisted with unease. But I had grown tired of uncertainty, tired of the quiet erosion of trust. I did something I never imagined I would. I found the hotel reservation in her email, memorized every detail, and quietly sent it to her parents with a simple note. In case you were wondering where she's heading this weekend. The morning she was supposed to leave, she was ready, suitcase packed and phone in hand, expecting a silent, compliant approval. I watched her, heart pounding, and said, "I thought you'd like to see this first." I handed her my phone, open to the email I had sent. Her smile faltered almost immediately, then crumpled entirely. The color drained from her face, and the carefully constructed mask of casual excitement shattered into 1,000 pieces. Her voice trembled. You what? "I sent your parents the hotel details," I said quietly, letting the weight of my words sink in. "Thought they might like to know where you're going this weekend." She froze, eyes wide, hands clutching the edge of the counter like she was holding herself together physically because emotionally, she was unraveling. The lie she had woven over weeks, months, had no footing now. Every excuse she had prepared dissolved in an instant, leaving her exposed, guilty, and unarmed. I didn't mean," she started, but no words could fix what had already been broken. The air between us thickened with the tension of truth. I could see her inner panic, her scramble for an explanation that would somehow absolve her, and it was terrifying, heartbreaking, and oddly satisfying to witness the collapse of deceit she had assumed would stay hidden. I felt a strange mixture of sorrow and resolve. Sorrow for the love we had once shared, for the trust one had given freely, and resolve to no longer be a passive participant in her schemes. Memories of laughter, shared jokes, quiet nights on the couch, they all stung, now tinged with betrayal. I realized that part of loving someone is sometimes acknowledging when that love is being manipulated, and having the courage to respond, not with tears but with clarity. She tried to speak, to explain, her voice breaking as she confessed that the secret weekend was meant to be a surprise for a friend she had been spending time with, a plan she insisted was harmless, yet layered with emotional intimacy that crossed lines I hadn't agreed to. I listened silently, absorbing the depth of her admission, the human frailty behind her actions, and the complexity of feelings that had led her here. She was not entirely malicious. She was lonely, perhaps seeking validation, excitement, or freedom, but her choices had consequences, and she could not evade them anymore. The emotional fallout that followed was raw and unrelenting. For days I sat in quiet reflection, replaying the confrontation in my mind, analyzing every gesture, every word, every sign I had ignored. I grieved, not just for the betrayal, but for the version of our life I had imagined, the partnership I thought we shared, the unguarded love I had given. Yet amidst the heartbreak I felt a growing clarity, a sense of reclaiming control over my life and my emotions. I realized that trust, once broken, cannot be rebuilt overnight. Forgiveness is not instantaneous, and love cannot flourish where deception lingers unchecked. But I also recognized that understanding the humanity behind betrayal, the fear, the loneliness, the misjudged attempts at connection, was a necessary step toward healing, both for her and for me. In the weeks that followed, conversations became honest, sometimes painfully so. Boundaries were set, apologies were offered, and the reality of consequences became unavoidable. She could no longer hide behind lies, and I could no longer ignore the evidence that had whispered the truth to me for months. We both confronted uncomfortable realities, hers of her own choices and impulses, mine of my naivety, my willingness to trust, and my need to protect myself emotionally. The turning point was subtle but profound. I stopped waiting for her to change, to confess fully, to undo the past. Instead, I focused on what I could control. My response, my actions, my commitment to clarity and honesty. Sending her parents the hotel information had been a catalyst, a moment where deception met its inevitable exposure. It was not revenge, it was a reclaiming of agency, a refusal to be manipulated further. Ultimately, we faced the truth together, not as adversaries, but as people forced into honesty by circumstances we had both complicated. I recognized that love is not only about shared joy but also about confronting uncomfortable truths, setting boundaries, and accepting the consequences of actions, whether ours or those of the people we care about. Looking back, I see that day, the day her lies crumbled before me, the day I took control of the narrative, as a turning point in our lives. Painful, yes, but instructive. Heartbreaking, yes, but clarifying. Love, trust, and betrayal are never simple, but the courage to face them with honesty, even in the presence of heartbreak, is the foundation of resilience. And as I sit here now reflecting on that weekend, I understand that protecting oneself is not a betrayal of love. It is an act of survival. Her plans may have failed, but the lessons she left behind, the truths revealed, the trust tested, remain with me, carved into my memory as a guide for how to navigate love, deceit, and the delicate architecture of human relationships.